Starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, welcome to the webinar, the NAGC webinar, The Importance of Content Governance. Our presenter today is Josh Dittard, and he is going to take it away. Please hold your questions till the end. You can type them in the questions box, and we'll try to get to as many or all of them as we can at the end of the broadcast. Okay, Josh?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Michelle, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. As she mentioned, my name is Josh Dithart, and I work for a company called SiteImprove. Today I'm not really going to talk a ton about SiteImprove because that's not the point. However, I've been working here for the past 3 years. I am the manager of team government and really enjoy talking about the issues that government organizations face. We're located in Bloomington, Minnesota. If you guys have heard of the Mall of America, that's actually where, well, not at the Mall of America, but Bloomington is in, or Mall of America is located in Bloomington. I realize that I should probably update the picture I'm showing you here because it makes me look like a baby, but that's the best one that I could find. And just so all you guys know, today it's going to be roughly around 30 minutes to discuss the importance of content governance. And then, as Michelle mentioned, we'll have some time for questions and answers. I truly believe that content governance is one of the most important aspects of content strategy, but what is it and what's out there that can help? Today I'm going to give a brief outline of content governance, and then we're going to dive into the fun part, what's out there that can help organizations with content governance. We're going to be looking at the problem first. Organizations have lots of websites with lots of pages that are highly visible. Combine this with the ease of which content can now be edited on the web and how difficult it is to monitor that content for consistency and accuracy, and we have a problem that needs some serious attention. Today, we're just going to take a look at the problem in more detail and provide some specific steps organizations like yourselves can take to ensure content consistency is upheld on a continual basis. Now, I'm not too sure of the demographics in this webinar, but I can assume that in most cases here on the call that the websites you maintain have multiple hands in the pot. You have a couple or maybe many different content contributors that can post on the site. But without a clear strategy for those content contributors, the message can be polluted or watered down. And instead of taking the Wild West approach of anybody doing anything they want, we need to create a clear strategy. A clear strategy will not only make for happier staff, but also happier customers or users. I'm not sure if you've ever worked for a job that didn't give you any guidance, but it's terrible. Think maybe back to one of your first jobs. I worked for a company before this as an outside sales guy. Their way of training me was literally handing me the company vehicle and saying, good luck. I had no strategy. I had no direction. I didn't understand the product that I was supposed to help or sell. I was lost. Are your content contributors lost when working on the website? Now, I'm sure I don't need to describe in this webinar what the purpose of a government website is to you all, but for the sake of the webinar, I'm going to. The purpose of a government website is to accomplish a goal in support of an agency's mission, or in essence, to provide information in a clear and compelling way. I've talked to cities that describe their website as a virtual city hall. I think that's a perfect explanation of the purpose of a website. However, on the flip side, I've seen many organizations' websites become a cluttered mess because content contributors throw whatever they want on the website without any guidelines. The issue that you all are facing, I believe, is that there are huge volumes of content, new devices or apps to support, and new platforms to publish on. On the flip side, you are understaffed or underfunded. Does this ring a bell at all? The principal benefit of creating a web governance strategy is that it can deliver the stability you need to focus on more important things like your online goals. But where do we start? So we'll give a good little definition here of content governance. The lofty definition, content governance is the day-to-day detailed management of content delivery and style, as well as the long-term execution of content strategy tactics. That's kind of wordy, so the simplified version of content governance, it determines priorities. When everyone understands the purpose of the website, they will know whether or not content should be uploaded to the site. Maybe it's not important enough to put it on the home page. So first, it determines priorities. Second, it provides detailed guidelines and standards how content should look, behave, and interact with your customers. This section could be known as a style guide, creating a style guide for your websites. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail about a style guide. And then last but not least, content governance. It assigns ownership to people within the organization so they can make strategic decisions about content or who does what in regards to my website. Now, before we start allowing people to publish content, we need to create a plan. Any plan must be practical and attainable. No one likes goals that they can't achieve. If my sales team were never able to achieve their monthly quota, they would become defeated and hate their job. So the first part of creating a plan is defining the purpose or goal of your website. I've heard numerous organizations say that their public-facing website has turned into an employee portal because the content contributors upload the information they want, need, or find interesting. That's not the purpose of a public-facing website. Those content contributors are not thinking of those end users. They do not understand why that site is there. So what is your goal for your website? What purpose is it serving? The city of Nashville wants their users to find information they're looking for in 3 steps or less. So once they get to your site, if it takes longer than 3 steps, they've seen that in many instances, people are going to pick up the phone and call. There was a study that was conducted by an organization called Tower Group Estimates. The study was around banking, and I know that we don't have any banks here, but they found that an average transactional cost of online banking was just 20 cents, while the average phone call costs $2.40. So by encouraging customers to use the self-service functions of the website, banks can literally save millions of dollars per year. Now, I don't necessarily think that government organizations are able to save millions of dollars a year by having people go to the website instead of calling in, but what does this look like for government agencies? The numbers might not be that drastic, but even if it reduces the number of phone calls, the number of emails, what that's going to do is it's going to free up a lot more of your time for you to focus on other initiatives. And the thing that I know about government employees is that you wear multiple hats. So time is very, very important for you. Once everyone understands the purpose of the website, define roles and responsibilities. This is the who does what. Am I responsible to only publish the content, or do I have to maintain the content after it's published? Do I need to focus on accessibility as well? Clear roles will help so there's no gray area as far as who covers what. And I hear with government organizations that there's kind of this battle between IT and then the marketing and communications. What's IT responsible for? What's marketing and communications responsible for? Who has the final say? Where does the budget come from? That's kind of the real question everyone in this room cares about the most. Where does that budget come from? But this is just a list of a handful of different types of roles and responsibilities. And in many different cases, it kind of comes down to that person's knowledge or area of expertise. If things are getting a little bit too technical for a person, we might need to pass it on to somebody else. After roles are established, in my mind, this is where the fun can start. This is where web policies and procedures need to be created. This is once again otherwise known as creating a style guide. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with style guides. You probably have your own style guide for the website. But creating a style guide is fast becoming common practice for communicators, for web designers, especially when dealing with sites that are content heavy. With a website style guide, content contributors are able to set and maintain a specific look and feel by creating a set of rules which the design follows, or all the content contributors that are focusing on it follows. The thing about these rules, or this style guide, is that the process should really be flexible. It changes. There's no set way you can adapt. It should be easily updatable as well as consistent. When creating a style guide, I'm just going to highlight a couple of things to consider. First would be layout. This is the big picture view. Have you ever gone to a website that each page or department of that site was different? The navigation was in a different place with different text. It really looked like you were on a completely different site depending on the page that you were at. That makes it hard for users to get familiar with the site and understand how to move around on the site. So your bounce rate might be higher. Keep it simple, keep it familiar for those people. Make the layout from page to page look the same. Second would be brand colors. What's your color scheme from page to page, department to department? I've seen websites, no joke, I've seen websites where it's looked like someone ripped open a Skittles bag all over their page. Unless you are Skittles.com or maybe Nickelodeon, keep it clean. What's your organization's logo colors? Keep it simple, keep it clean, keep it the same. And for some of you, this might be common sense, but you'd be shocked at how many websites are out there that have or don't have some of these. Typography, fonts, sizes. Do we allow one font, multiple sizes? What are those fonts and sizes? HTML element. This is getting into SEO and accessibility. This is a little bit more technical, but it's still important. Are we tagging our pages appropriately? And I'm going to go a little bit more into accessibility later on in the call, but are we making sure that search engines or screen readers will be able to navigate appropriately on the site? This also goes back to roles. Whose role is it to make sure your headings are correct? Document guidelines. Now, government organizations have thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of documents on the site. When uploading documents, what file size will we allow? Are we going to allow Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, or are we going to only allow PDFs? Are PDFs accessible now for people with disabilities? I did a demo of our service, the Site Improve service, about a year ago for a lady that manages a city website, and her website was decentralized. She had multiple different content contributors that uploaded content on the site. I think she probably had right around 2,500 PDFs. We found a document on her site that was 774 megabytes. Now, the average document that I see is under 100 megabytes. 774 megabytes would take quite a long time to load. And the actual document, it was the city's upcoming budget. So I honestly think it was that large so no resident could see where the money was being spent. But when she saw that document, she didn't know that it was out there. I'm not sure if she had any rules in place around file size, but she gasped and asked if she could excuse herself. So she put me on hold for 5 minutes, ran over to that content contributor and yelled at her. I'm pretty certain that they don't have any more 774 megabytes documents on the site. But do you even know the types or the file sizes of the documents that are being posted on the site? Create rules. The last one I'm going to just go into a little detail on are consistent phone numbers. From page to page, phone numbers should be consistent. Should our format be periods, commas, dashes? If you have a mobile site, Make sure that the phone numbers are formatted in a way so that all I need to do is just click on that number, just tap that number for it to start calling. These are just a couple of different parts of a style guide that I'm going to talk about, but I'm sure if I open the floor for you guys, I'm sure you could think of dozens more policies and procedures, and the list goes on. Are there any specific flagged words that we do not allow on the site? What are those words? Not every website that you're involved with needs a style guide, but I do think that it is necessary when websites are content heavy and have multiple different content contributors publishing that content. Anytime there's more people in the mix, more possibility for confusion. Create a style guide and make it known. Print it off and hang it around the office so everyone can see that. A style guide will create familiarity with users and allow for an overall better experience. After all these other steps are defined, we need to make sure that the content contributors have the appropriate training. Without the knowledge to do what you're asking of them, there's really no point in creating a content governance plan. Here in the state of Minnesota, there is a big push for government organizations to be accessible. But unless each person knows what guidelines to follow, websites, they just won't become accessible. There are a lot of options out there to provide training. Organizations are always offering webinars, online trainings, or certification courses. Like SiteImprove's one shameless plug. SiteImprove is doing an accessibility webinar on Wednesday, so feel free to check out our website, siteimprove.com. One other thing that I would mention, before purchasing anything that requires any sort of knowledge to use, ask that organization what their training requirements are if they train. I've talked to so many different organizations that they purchase a tool, purchase a service, and then 6 months down the road, when they realize that they might not be as familiar with it as they thought, they contact that organization for training, and the organization wants to suck sometimes thousands of additional dollars out of it. So no need to get surprised when you need updated training. Make sure that training is there for those people. Now, once that plan is in place, we still need to make sure that plan is being followed, even if there is training. Now, for smaller websites, this part is easier because there usually aren't as many people updating the content and there aren't as many pages on that website. But even with small websites, it's unrealistic to think that someone can manually go page by page and search for errors. That would need to be a full-time job. So this is when software, this is when help comes in to play. Now, SiteImprove, all these logos on there, besides the SiteImprove one, we don't have any partnership with any of these. These are just some that I run into a lot. But when looking for software, there are a lot of decisions to make. Obviously, the number one, can I afford it? Do I have the budget for it? But does it cover all my basic web needs? Is it automated? The list goes on. To help you with your content strategy, there are a lot of different tools out there. But some of the popular product categories include, everyone's probably familiar with content management systems, but quality assurance tools, accessibility tools, technical monitoring tools. Is my software running? Is it up and loading? Web analytics, SEO checkers, a lot more. I'm just going to focus on a couple of these. So your CMS, everybody really knows what that is, but it allows you to post on your website and get your message across. If your organization is decentralized, just make sure that the CMS you choose is easy enough for all your content management or content managers to use. If it's not, what you're going to get are people not updating any pages because it's too difficult, or they're going to continue to go to you asking how to edit or update a page, which is what we're trying to avoid here. I'm very familiar with quality assurance and accessibility tools. That's kind of what SiteImprove does, but last year, SiteImprove created a website study using 25 local government websites. A couple of these were our customers, majority of them were not, and we checked the first 1,000 pages of each site and found an average on those sites of 55 misspellings and 134 broken links. And the worst site had 216 misspelled words and over 1,000 broken links. Now, that's not surprising to me. The battle to maintain your content after that content is published is never ending. Broken links happen all the time. If you're a city and the county that you're in does a redesign and changes the domain, every link that you're referencing on your website is now broken. It's happened to one of our customers because everybody knows the correct way to spell. It's always the keyboard that becomes sticky and a misspelled word stumbles upon a site. I can't tell you guys how many times I've seen the word public misspelled, drop the L. Nobody wants to contact the public information office or go to the pubic information office or go to the pubic works department. But it's common, it happens all the time. Sometimes people forget to place an alt tag on an image and your perfectly accessible site is no longer accessible. When looking for a software to assist in content governance, there's a couple out there. I would strongly encourage that you find one that is automated and has detailed reports. In my experience, if the tool is not automated, then it is forgotten about. And if the reports you are receiving aren't detailed, no one's going to fix the errors. It's just one extra thing that's going to waste time for them to do. Broken links have a devastating effect on your visitors. I found an online study that Stanford did, and I was really excited to dive in because it was going to talk about the effects that broken links have. But when I clicked on that PDF to get the report, I received a 404 error. So unfortunately, I don't have any data from Stanford that discusses the effects of broken links. But when stumbling upon a broken link, it's going to increase the likelihood of those people calling to get that information, or worse, just giving up completely. Think about the times when you were on a website that you didn't maintain and you stumbled across a broken link. Did you call them? Did you email them to fix it? I never have. I was just a while back in the market to buy a new car, so I was looking online at banks and credit unions for their auto loan information. But one of the sites, one of the first links I should say that I stumbled into was a broken link. Now, I'm in the business of checking broken links. I stumble across hundreds of them on a daily basis, so I understand how it happens. However, I immediately left that site because I didn't trust it. They could have had the cheapest rates for auto loans, but I didn't care. What effect does that have on your website's reputation? And misspelled words can have a similar effect. In 2012, Bosch Communications jumped on board with SiteImprove. In their first month, they spent fixing these specific errors that obviously have creeped on the site. The next month after fixing their errors, their analytics program showed that the average time spent on their website had increased by 56%. Because they had not made any other significant changes to the website, their web manager attributes the increase to users no longer hitting those pesky errors and giving up their search in frustration. Now, I hope you guys don't think that this is a pitch to purchase SiteImprove. That's not the purpose for sharing this information. I've talked to numerous different organizations that either just don't care that they have errors on the site, or they would just admit that it's a problem, but they just don't know how to fix it. Segueing into accessibility, I'm sure that the vast majority of you on this webinar are probably smarter than I am in the category of accessibility, but for the few that may be on my level, I'm just going to briefly explain what accessibility is. There's an ever-growing user group on websites that are disabled, blind, dyslexic, deaf, colorblind. Maybe they read a little bit slower than the average person. For these people, it's more difficult to find information on a website than for people without disabilities. In many cases, they need to use assistive technology to help them. Because of this assistive technology, navigating through a website can be a nightmare. So there are a set of rules and standards that organizations adhere to if they want to be accessible. There are a few different sets of standards, but Section 508 and WCAG, or WCAG 2.0, are the most popular. You guys can correct me if you're wrong, but from my understanding, here in the United States, there are no laws in place that say that government organizations need to be accessible, but I think that's different for federal organizations. With that said, I've actually recently spoken with somebody from the National Association of Counties out in DC, and he's been in a conversation with the DOJ to set a realistic date for counties to have accessible websites. The topic of accessibility isn't really going to be going away ever, and it's very important to have a software that checks your website or have people internally knowledgeable that they can check websites for accessibility issues. I believe the biggest battle with accessibility is understanding the guidelines, staying up to date with the changes, and there's a need for technical people to use accessible coding practices and for editors to add accessible content. And this kind of goes back to my point about training. Unless knowledge and training is provided around accessible practices and guidelines, your editors are not even going to know where to start. Or if your content management system says that they're going to build you a perfectly accessible website during a redesign, the day that you let all of your content contributors start updating content is the day that you no longer are compliant. So training, training, training. Once we define the purpose of the website, define the roles and responsibilities, create policies and procedures, train and purchase the appropriate software, the next step, I think, is the most fun. This is the analytics. Now we've put all of this work into the website, but without analytics, we won't know if we are accomplishing our goals. Do you know how many visitors are coming to your site each week? How did they get to your site? How long have they stayed at your site? How many pages have they looked at? Do you have the ability to filter your internal or your external visitors? So is your data just cluttered with people inside the federal organization, the state organization, or that city and county? Or do you know the residents that are looking at the site? Having a website without having any analytics software, in my eyes, is almost useless. Google Analytics, Web Trends, Site Improve Analytics, there are options for anybody to use. And then when searching for an analytics tool, I believe that there are some must-have features that you should make sure is included. And a lot of these any analytics tool is going to provide, but make sure that it's easy to figure out your page views, as well as time spent on the site. We don't want someone just spending 5 seconds on the site and automatically leaving. Keywords and search terms. What are the words that people are searching for in Google, Bing, or Yahoo? And what pages are they getting to? Seeing that information is really eye-opening, because if you don't know those keywords that people are searching for when getting to your site, it's as I mentioned, it's pretty eye-opening seeing some of those, and you can optimize then your pages for specific keywords. Campaign tracking. If you send out monthly, weekly, bi-weekly newsletters, if you have email campaigns, can you track that? Are you seeing how many people from that newsletter that you just sent out last month are coming to your site and where they navigate after the site? Behavior tracking, document downloads. And we touched on the importance of monitoring the sizes and the types of documents, but do you know which documents on your site are being viewed? I think lots of information can probably be deleted from a government organization's website if they knew how little amount of documents were actually being viewed. But then some of them you also have to have up there for just for legal purposes, I understand. And then referral websites or search engines. What other websites are people getting or clicking to? Facebook, Twitter, the county, other state departments. How are they getting to the website? The last part of content governance is change. And as I'm closing out this webinar, opening it up for questions, don't be afraid to change your strategy, especially once you take analytics into consideration. If the users are not interacting with your website the way they should, then maybe we need to go back to stage one and redefine our goals. Today, we talked about the importance of content governance. To recap, we must define the purpose or goal of the website, so all those content contributors are on the same page. We must define roles and responsibilities. We must establish policies and procedures or create a style guide, provide the content contributors with the appropriate training, and lastly, provide them with the appropriate web monitoring tools to help. An effective strategy is really the only way to make sure that results are measurable, and I believe that content governance is the only way to make sure that good results are repeatable. Thank you guys very much. I'm going to open it up for questions, and then these are just some references that I got the information from today. There's a lot more smarter people out there than me that have studied content governance for quite some time. So go check out the World Wide Web if you want to learn a little bit more. But I'm going to pass it off to Michelle or Maria, and they can funnel some questions.
Hi, Maria, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So the first question that we have here is, do you have some good examples of websites for finding a style guide for content governance policy?
That is a fantastic question. Off the top of my head, I couldn't list out, but even the second one down on here, sorry, the second one to the end, creativeblog.com design, create website style guide. If you just search style guide in Google, there are going to be hundreds of examples that pop up.
Okay, if we have any other questions, you can type them right in the questions box on the webcast. Maria, do you have anything that you want to ask?
How would you recommend, Josh? Our city is actually going to be launching an entirely new design, basically starting from scratch. So, in terms of that design, so I think for me probably the most important thing is what you said at the beginning about looking at who your end user actually is, because as you said, for a lot of employees, this is sort of their way of getting information out, but not looking at it from the standpoint of the end user and the information that they're trying to see.
I've heard of a lot of cities that have had just different meetings. They invited the public to come in and just had an open forum asking the public, what do you use our website for? What do you like about the website? Have you had any difficulties trying to find information on the website? And really picking their brains and having your content contributors, or the people that are going to be from each department updating content, sit in some of those meetings. I mean, the cities and counties that I've talked to that have done that really were able to roll out a website that understood what their residents' needs were. That's a part of it. I think also just diving and fully understanding that analytics data is important. There was a county that is a customer of ours, and they started using an analytics tool before they didn't have any. And after a couple of months, they noticed how many people were searching information for their jail bail bonds, and with that information, they said, wow, for a month, that 50% of the traffic that was going to their site was people interested, which is kind of sad in a way, but people interested in learning who's in jail, learning about the jail. So they did more to make that jail page visible because it was kind of buried in the layout and design of their site. So they created a link on their homepage that went directly to the jail information because that was the information that the majority of people were looking for.
I think another question that I would have is how often do you think that content, especially on the homepage, needs to be refreshed? For example, on our website, we have what we call our spotlight section, which hopefully is updating every couple of days or so with different spotlights that we want people to focus on. But is there some sort of standard for how often you should just have fresh content right there on the homepage?
Sure. That's a good question. I don't think there's any standard. I mean, depending on the size of the agency, some agencies' websites are just going to be a little bit more static. I mean, if we're dealing with a city that has 2,000 people, 3,000, I mean 10,000 people, there's not going to be as much going on in the city, as much content to be rolling out. However, I do think it's important to continue to cycle information through that website. Even from SEO perspectives, and this is getting a little bit technical, search engine optimization, if I want to make sure that my website ranks higher in Google, it's important that we're rolling out and putting new information and relevant information on the website. That's just one of the categories that Google takes into consideration when ranking pages. So no great answer for you. I believe that was Michelle, but the more that you can roll out information that is relevant and information that is interesting to people, I think you're going to see a big spike in traffic to websites.
Michelle, are there any other questions that have been typed in?
A couple people have asked how they can get a copy of the presentation, and we are recording the presentation, and we will be posting it in the members-only section of the NAGC website.
And I can provide the slides as well if that would be of interest to anyone. Michelle, Maria, I can send those over to you, and you can do what you'd like with them as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you for letting me be a pseudo member of your guys' organization.
Well, thanks, Josh. And Michelle, since I was not on at the very beginning, did you talk at all about NAGC or our next webinar?
I did not, so feel free to...
Just so very briefly, for all of those who are still on, I'm Maria Vanderkolk. I'm the Professional Development Director with NAGC. And well, thank you all for joining this webinar. We have another one scheduled for Wednesday, December 10th, which is also complimentary. It's 2 p.m. Eastern, and it's a new paradigm for public engagement. So I'll be looking for information on that. But let me tell you a little bit about NAGC for those of you who are not members. We are a national professional network. We have federal, state, and local government employees who are members. I happen to represent the city side of things. And I would say that we have probably a stronger membership with our federal and state employees, but I get more as a city communications professional out of NAGC than any other organization that I belong to. And it's really great for every aspect of the communications field in government. So I highly recommend that you look into joining NAGC. We have fantastic annual conferences, and again, we're really hoping to continue to enhance these webinars that we offer, and so be looking for a schedule of those upcoming webinars, and we'll do our best to create content that is valuable for folks. So if you do have suggestions, please do let us know. And again, the next webinar is scheduled for Wednesday, December 10th, and certainly be looking for more information on that. And Michelle, I don't have anything else if you want to.
Great. Thank you, everybody. And if you are a member, please look for the presentation to be posted sometime in the next week.
Thanks so much, everybody, for participating. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, guys.